was 22 years old, a final-year student at the university. She was bright, hard-working, and known for always speaking her mind. But life had not been kind to her. She came from a poor background and had carried responsibilities much bigger than her age. Her father had died when she was still a little girl, leaving her and her mother to survive on their own. Since then, her mother, Mama Grace, had been everything: parent, teacher, and friend. Gloria grew up seeing her mother struggle to put food on the table, taking small jobs here and there. It was Mama Grace's sacrifices that kept her in school. Gloria was also an only child. There were no brothers or sisters to lean on. She carried her burdens quietly, trying to make her mother proud. She studied hard, worked part-time whenever she could, and prayed that one day life would smile on them. But poverty pressed in on every side. Her scholarship money had been delayed for months. The little she earned from cleaning jobs and tutoring younger students was barely enough to cover food and transport. Even her landlord had begun threatening to throw them out if the rent was not paid soon. Then came the call that shook her world. It was from the hospital. The nurse's voice was urgent. "Your mother's condition has worsened. Please come quickly." Gloria's heart raced. She grabbed her bag and left campus at once. Tears blurred her eyes as she boarded a bus, whispering prayers under her breath. She could not lose Mama Grace. Not her. Not now. At the hospital, Gloria hurried down the white corridor and pushed into the ward. Mama Grace lay weak on the bed, her breathing heavy and shallow. Gloria's hands trembled as she reached for her mother's hand. The doctor came to her side, his face grave. "Your mother needs urgent treatment," he said softly. "She requires imported drugs and special care. The cost is very high. Without it, she may not survive." "How much?" Gloria asked, her voice barely above a whisper. 200,000, the doctor replied. "And it must be paid quickly." Gloria felt her knees weaken. She had only a small amount saved from her part-time jobs. Even that wasn't enough to cover rent, let alone such a huge hospital bill. Desperation filled her chest like fire. She could not sit and watch her mother slip away. She had to find money anywhere, anyhow. In her hopeless search, Gloria went to see Mr. James, a local moneylender. She explained her situation, her voice breaking, and begged for help. But Mr. James leaned back in his chair and sneered. 200,000. For you. You should know better. What do you even have to offer as collateral? "Please, sir," Gloria whispered, tears in her eyes. "I will pay little by little. It's my mother's life." He laughed cruelly. "Your background is poor. Your father is dead. You have nothing. Even you are barely feeding as it is. And you dare to ask me for such money? You should be paying me for the insult." His words cut her like a blade. Gloria left his office slowly, her heart pounding with fear and shame. But deep inside, she swore to herself she would not give up. Her mother's life depended on her. She walked slowly out of Mr. James's office, his cruel laughter still ringing in her ears. The night felt heavier than ever. Her eyes stung with tears as she thought of her mother lying weak in the hospital. She knew she couldn't go home empty-handed. At least, she told herself, she could buy some small medicines. She hurried to the nearest pharmacy, clutching the little money she had left. The place was busy. People lined up in the late-night queue, some buying baby supplies, others picking up painkillers. Gloria waited patiently, whispering prayers. When it was finally her turn, she placed the items on the counter, just basic drugs for fever and body pain. The cashier swiped her card. The machine beeped. "Insufficient funds," the cashier said flatly. Gloria's heart sank. She tried again, hoping for a miracle, but the same message flashed back. Her hands shook. She could feel people behind her growing restless. "Miss, please step aside if you don't have the money," the cashier said impatiently. Before Gloria could speak, a calm male voice spoke from behind her. "Add it to mine. I'll cover it." She turned, surprised. The man was tall, well-dressed, and carried himself with quiet authority. He looked out of place in such a crowded pharmacy at that hour. In his hand was a small pack of paracetamol. It was Vincent Adams, a billionaire from the famous Adams family. He had been out with some friends for a late-night snack and had stopped by quickly to grab painkillers. To him it was a simple act, nothing worth attention. The cashier nodded, took his card and processed both payments. Vincent quietly collected his own item and stepped aside, avoiding the stares. Gloria clutched the small bag of medicine, her face flushed with relief and embarrassment. She rushed out of the pharmacy. Outside, under the dim light of the pharmacy canopy, she found him standing alone, scrolling through his phone. She walked up to him slowly. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice trembling. I don't know how to repay you." Vincent looked up briefly, then shrugged as if it was nothing. "Don't bother. Just take care." Gloria blinked. "Still, I wish I could return the favor." He gave a faint smile. "You don't need to, but—" "Here." He handed her a small card with his assistant's contact. "If you ever really need help, reach out." Before she could say another word, he nodded politely and walked toward the waiting car, where his friend Henry stood. Henry, who had known Vincent for years, noticed something unusual in his friend's eyes. Vincent was not a man who paid attention to strangers, much less a struggling young woman. Yet tonight, he had. Interesting, Henry thought quietly. Vincent doesn't just look at any woman. Maybe this girl is different. That same night, as Gloria sat by her mother's bedside, she tried calling old classmates and distant relatives, begging for help. Every call ended with excuses or rejection. Her phone battery drained, her hope drained with it. Sometime after midnight, a message popped up from an unknown number. "We met earlier at the pharmacy. If you need help, come to this hotel lounge tomorrow. One night, no strings. I will give any amount you ask for." Gloria froze, staring at the screen. Her first thought was shame. Her second was anger. How could someone think she would sell herself like that? She put the phone down, refusing to even reply. But as the hours crawled by, every call she made ended the same way. "Sorry, I can't help." Her savings were nothing compared to what the hospital demanded. She looked at her mother, who winced even in her sleep, breathing weakly. Her heart battled with itself. The stranger had been handsome and kind in the pharmacy, but this offer felt wrong. Shame burned inside her, but desperation whispered louder. Finally, with trembling fingers, Gloria picked up her phone and typed a short reply. "I will come tomorrow." Gloria barely slept that night. The message on her phone replayed in her head again and again. Her heart told her to stay away, but her mind reminded her of her mother struggling to breathe. By morning, she had fully made up her mind. There was no turning back now. Meanwhile, later that evening, Henry made sure Vincent was present at the private lounge. He had told Vincent about the message he had sent to Gloria the day before, hoping his friend would at least listen. Vincent didn't argue much, but his face was cold and unreadable. When Gloria arrived, she was taken upstairs to a quiet, luxurious private lounge. The lights were soft, the furniture polished, and the air heavy with silence. She felt completely out of place, clutching her small bag tightly against her chest. Vincent was seated on one of the couches, his posture calm but distant. His eyes met hers briefly, then shifted away as though he wanted to keep this only business. "Sit," he said simply, his voice even. Gloria sat, trying not to tremble. She took a deep breath and spoke firmly, wanting her words to be clear. "I got your message, and I understand what you want. But there must be rules," she said. "No violence, no filming, no drugs. You transfer the full payment first, 200,000, and after this, no future contact. We forget it happened." For a moment, Vincent's cold face softened. He nodded. "Agreed," he said. Gloria was surprised he had agreed so easily to the amount she mentioned. Guess life isn't as hard for some people as it is for her, she thought to herself. Henry, standing quietly at the side, watched the exchange. He knew Vincent well. His friend never entertained women lightly. Yet there was something different in the way he was listening to this poor student. He had looked her up earlier and discovered she needed the money, which was why he wasn't surprised she came, but he was surprised Vincent had gone with his idea so easily, and he said nothing. Then finally, Vincent and Gloria introduced themselves properly. "My name is Gloria. I am a final-year accounting student," she said quietly. "Vincent Adams," he replied. Gloria froze. She had heard the name 1,000 times. Girls in her class wouldn't stop talking about the billionaire heir from the Adams family, admiring his wealth, his looks, his mysterious nature. And here he was, right in front of her. She glanced at him again. Truly his appearance was worth the praise. Broad shoulders, calm eyes, a presence that commanded respect. But she quickly forced the thought away. "Perish the thought, Gloria. The further away he stays from you, the better. You didn't come here for admiration." Vincent transferred the money. Then, almost as if to seal the deal, he took out a sheet of paper and signed a short handwritten note, promising no future claims, no strings. Gloria folded it carefully into her bag. Later they left together for the hotel. Gloria went into the bathroom first. She stood under the shower for a long time, trying to steady her racing heart. When she came out, she found Vincent waiting. Their eyes met, and in that moment the distance broke. He kissed her. Though nervous and inexperienced, Gloria allowed herself to be led. Vincent was gentle, taking the lead, and the night passed with a mix of hesitation and passion that neither of them had expected. By morning, Gloria woke before Vincent. The room was quiet, sunlight slipping through the curtains. She looked at him for one brief second, then quickly turned away. She freshened up, washed her face, picked up her bag, and quietly left while he was still asleep. At the hospital, she rushed straight to her mother's bed. The exhaustion and weight of everything overcame her, and she collapsed beside Mama Grace, clutching her hand. Her tears fell silently. At least for now, her mother still had a chance. A few days passed after the payment. Slowly, Mama Grace's condition began to stabilize. The doctors said the drugs were working, and for the first time in weeks, Gloria felt hope. When her mother asked how the money had come, Gloria smiled softly and lied. "An old classmate helped me, Mama. Someone kind enough to lend me the money." Her mother squeezed her hand weakly, whispering, "God bless them. May they never lack." Gloria forced a smile, but her chest tightened with guilt. She could never tell her mother the truth. Meanwhile, Vincent sat alone in his study. He had not been himself since that night. When he woke up the next morning, he had seen the faint stain on the sheets and realized something he hadn't expected. Gloria had been a virgin. The discovery unsettled him. He had assumed she was just another girl chasing quick money, but this was different. It explained the nervousness in her eyes, the way she had set strict boundaries, the way she had left so quickly without looking back. For the first time in a long while, Vincent felt something stir in him. Not guilt, not pride, but interest. He called Henry. "That woman you set me up with, find out about her," Vincent said simply. Henry was used to his friend being guarded around women, so he did not question it. After digging around quietly, Henry came back with the report. Gloria Stevens, 22, a final-year student, brilliant and hard-working. Her father had died years ago, and her mother was in the city hospital, fighting for her life. She had been desperate, with no other way to raise the money. Vincent sat back, silent. Now he understood. She wasn't a prostitute. She wasn't some hookup. She was a child fighting to save her mother's life. He closed his eyes and let out a long breath. "Delete everything," he told Henry firmly. "Every message, every record, and never speak of this again." Henry nodded. Understood. On the other side of the city, Gloria folded the handwritten note Vincent had signed and tucked it safely into her small bag. She told herself she would keep it, not because she wanted to remember, but because it was her protection. At night, when she lay beside her mother's bed, her thoughts drifted back to him, the man with cold eyes and quiet power. She quickly pushed the thought away. "He belongs to another world," she told herself. "The further away he stays from me, the better." Yet, deep inside, she knew something had changed. As days passed, Gloria tried to rebuild her life the best she could. With mother now more stable at the hospital, she returned to her classes. She took on extra shifts, tutoring younger students and cleaning offices at night. She told herself that the past few days never happened, and she buried herself in work. But no matter how hard she tried, sometimes her thoughts drifted back to that night, and the man whose world was far beyond hers. She quickly shook it off whenever it happened. That part of my life is closed. I can't look back. On the other side of the city, Vincent found himself restless. He had tried to stay away, reminding himself of Gloria's firm words, no attachments, no future contact. But the more he tried to forget, the more her face returned to him, the honesty in her voice, the way she had walked away without a second glance at his wealth. Finally, one evening he picked up his phone and dialed her number. Gloria saw the call flash across her screen. Her chest tightened. For a moment she considered answering, but then she remembered her mother's words about dignity, about not letting shame follow her. She had disregarded those words once, and she wasn't about to do it again. With trembling hands, she blocked the number completely. Vincent stared at his phone in disbelief when the line went dead. He tried again and saw it had been blocked. Shock turned into intrigue. Women usually chased after him, yet here was one who waved him off so easily. For the first time in years, Vincent smiled faintly. Interesting, he muttered to himself. The next day, Vincent returned to the office. The weight of the company rested heavily on him. His uncle, Uncle Ben, was waiting for him in the boardroom. Uncle Ben's son, Leo, had been whispering among shareholders, stirring doubt. The shareholders aren't satisfied, Vincent, Uncle Ben said firmly. You should put in more effort. This company carries the Adams name, and we cannot afford to look weak. Vincent's eyes hardened. With all respect, Uncle, I've been the backbone of this company for years. If not for me, Adams Group would not be standing as strong as it is today. Uncle Ben pursed his lips but said no more. That evening, Vincent returned to the Adams mansion. The house was filled with wealth and luxury, but to him it felt empty. Since his parents' death in a car accident when he was just 15, the mansion had never truly felt like home. The only one who cared for him with genuine love was his grandmother, Grandma Ruth. She had raised him with so much care after the tragedy, and even now, she remained his anchor. When Vincent entered the living room, she was seated by the window, knitting softly. She looked up and studied his face. You are troubled, she said gently. Vincent sighed and sat across from her. He didn't tell her what was truly bothering him, but she continued anyway. When you do wrong for a right reason, don't let pride keep you there. Learn from it, and let it guide you. Vincent nodded quietly. He did not speak, but her words sank deep into him. For the first time that day, he felt a small measure of peace. Meanwhile, Gloria's life was about to take an unexpected turn. One afternoon she was walking home from campus when she saw an elderly woman struggling with her shopping bag. The woman had paused by the roadside, her breathing heavy. Without a second thought, Gloria hurried over. Let me help you, Ma, she said kindly, lifting the heavy bag from the woman's hands. The woman looked at her with surprise, then smiled warmly. Thank you, my child. May God bless you. Gloria smiled back. It's nothing, Ma. You shouldn't be carrying this by yourself. I can give you my number to help you run errands anytime you need me. I don't have money for that, the woman said softly with a sly smile. You don't have to pay me. I won't be able to sleep well at night if I collect money for running errands for an elder, Gloria replied, smiling back at the woman. They walked together for a short while, chatting softly. When they reached the side of the road, the woman told her to go ahead as she was waiting for someone. Gloria handed the bag over. The woman patted her hand with gratitude. You have a good heart, she said gently. Gloria nodded, then hurried away, not knowing she had just touched someone who would soon change her life. She had no idea the simple woman she helped was none other than Grandma Ruth of the Adams family. A few days later, Gloria entered a high-end boutique. Her final year presentation was coming up, and she wanted to at least look professional. She could not afford to buy much, but she hoped to window shop, maybe find something simple within her reach. As soon as she stepped in, the staff gave her disapproving looks. One of them whispered loudly, "These poor people will come here and waste our time, trying on clothes they can't afford." Gloria swallowed hard but ignored the words. She picked a plain blouse and a skirt to try on, telling herself not to be embarrassed. But when she came out of the fitting room, the whispers grew louder. Look at her shoes. She doesn't belong here. She should try the thrift store. Gloria's face burned, but she stood tall, refusing to let them see her shame. Just then the door opened and in walked an elegant older woman dressed in a simple but rich-looking wrapper. The staff's tone changed instantly. Welcome, Ma, they chorused, bowing. The woman looked around, and then her eyes fell on Gloria. She smiled widely. It's you, she said, walking forward. Gloria blinked in surprise. Ma? The woman took her hand. You helped me the other day with my bag. I told myself I would not forget your face. What a pleasant surprise. The staff looked shocked. They hadn't expected the older woman to know her. Grandma Ruth turned to them sharply. And you, don't you ever look down on people. Wealth can vanish, but kindness never fades. Treat every customer with respect. The room fell silent. She then turned back to Gloria, her eyes full of warmth. My dear, take whatever you tried on. In fact, take everything that fits you. I will pay for it. Gloria stared at the woman in shock for a few minutes. The old woman she had helped looked nothing like the sophisticated woman standing before her now, commanding so much respect. She must be someone powerful, she thought to herself. No, Ma, please. I didn't come to trouble you, Gloria replied finally, her eyes filled with shock. Nonsense, Grandma Ruth replied. You have a very kind heart, and that makes you special. Don't let anyone make you feel less. Gloria nodded and accepted the clothes with gratitude. Then Grandma Ruth pulled out a small card and pressed it into Gloria's hand. Come for a trainee interview at AG. I believe you will fit in well there. Gloria's mouth fell open. AG? You mean the one and only AG? She whispered. She had been searching everywhere for a place to intern for her final year, but never dreamed of such an opportunity. Thank you, Ma. I don't even know what to say. I have been looking for where to intern, but I never expected this, Gloria said with tears in her eyes. Grandma Ruth smiled and touched her shoulder gently. Say nothing, my dear. Just be yourself. They bid farewell, and as Gloria walked out of the boutique with her new clothes, her heart swelled with a hope she hadn't felt in a very long time. The following day, Gloria dressed as neatly as she could in one of the new clothes Grandma Ruth had bought for her. Her hands shook as she held the invitation card. AG Corporation, it said. She had been too excited before to even ask what AG stood for. When she reached the gleaming glass building, her heart beat faster. The place looked like a palace. She walked through the main entrance, clutching her bag tightly, whispering a prayer for courage. As she was led down the wide corridor by a secretary, several men in dark suits moved past, escorting someone important. Gloria stepped aside quickly, but when her eyes lifted, she froze. It was him, Vincent Adams. Their eyes met. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. She realized with shock AG stood for Adams Group. This was his company. The internship offer Grandma Ruth had given her was leading her right back into his world. She hadn't thought that far. She had only been happy for the chance. She certainly had not imagined she would see him here like this. Vincent, too, froze for a split second, but quickly masked his surprise. His face returned to its usual cold calm as though nothing had happened. Moments later, she was ushered into his office for the interview. The room was large, bright, and quiet. He sat across from her, his gaze unreadable. He began asking her questions, serious questions about integrity, handling pressure, and how she would deal with responsibility. Gloria answered with honesty and confidence. When he switched to practical accounting questions, she answered brilliantly, explaining calculations and procedures she had learned in class. For the first time, a flicker of admiration showed in his eyes. He leaned back slightly, nodding. You are prepared, he said. Gloria's heart raced, but she forced herself to remain calm. Despite the fact that she had not yet completed her degree, Vincent approved her as a management trainee under Henry at Adams Group. The formal part ended, but then his voice grew softer. How is your mother's health? He asked. Gloria blinked, caught off guard. She looked down at her hands. She's getting better, she replied shyly, then quickly stood eager to escape. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. She walked out of the office, her feet light but her heart pounding. Outside she leaned against the wall, breathing fast. She had not expected him to have such a strong effect on her. His presence was powerful, and no matter how much she told herself to stay away, she couldn't deny the truth. Vincent Adams had left a mark on her heart. The following week, Gloria began her training at Adams Group the next week under Henry's guidance. She worked hard, kept her head low, and tried to avoid Vincent as much as possible. Every time she caught a glimpse of him in the hallways, her heart raced. She told herself she was here for her future, not to let her feelings confuse her. At home, Mama Grace had finally been discharged from the hospital. She was weak but recovering well, and Gloria thanked God every day for her mother's life. From her very first day at work, Gloria noticed the eyes on her. Two women in particular made sure she felt out of place. Helen was one of the senior staff. She was from a rich family, well-connected, and carried herself with pride. Everyone knew she had her eyes on Vincent, and she often boasted that she was the one meant for him. To her, Gloria was just a poor girl who didn't belong. She made it clear by throwing sharp comments whenever she could. Cynthia, another trainee, was different. She wore a sweet smile and acted friendly, but behind the smile were little traps. She would pretend to help Gloria, only to set her up for embarrassment later. Together, Helen and Cynthia watched Gloria closely, whispering whenever she passed. Still, Gloria pushed on. One afternoon, Gloria went with Henry and a few others to visit a supplier. During the meeting, a cleaner accidentally spilled some water near the table. The supplier, irritated, turned and began insulting the man harshly. Before anyone else could speak, Gloria stepped forward. Please, sir, he didn't mean it. He's only trying to do his work. We should treat everyone with respect, she said firmly. The room went quiet. The supplier looked embarrassed but quickly changed the topic. Vincent, who had been seated quietly, glanced at Gloria. He said nothing in that moment, but later, in private, he told Henry, "You made the right choice bringing her here." That evening most staff had gone home, but Gloria stayed behind to finish her reports. She thought she was alone until she heard a voice behind her. "You've been avoiding me." She turned quickly. It was Vincent, standing by the door. Gloria's heart skipped. "Sir, I've just been busy," she said nervously. He walked closer, his expression softer than usual. "I respect your boundaries," he said quietly. "I only wanted to be friends." For the first time they sat together and talked. The office felt strangely warm, despite its cold glass walls. They spoke about school, about family, and little by little the heaviness in Gloria's chest eased. At one point she noticed he refused the wine offered by a client earlier that evening. Curious, she asked, "You don't drink?" He shook his head. "I'm allergic to alcohol. Even a little could harm me." Gloria smiled faintly. "That explains a lot." They shared a quiet moment, their eyes meeting, the silence saying what words could not. Gloria left that night with her heart beating fast. She had promised herself to keep away from him, but it was becoming harder with every passing day. The following week, Adams Group was invited to a supplier's cocktail party. The hall glittered with chandeliers, the sound of soft music filling the air. Staff mingled, glasses in hand, and business deals were whispered between smiles. Gloria came along with Henry and the other trainees, her heart still unsettled from the moment she had shared with Vincent. She kept her distance from him, reminding herself not to cross lines. But soon, tension filled the room. One of the big clients, a wealthy man with a loud voice and proud eyes, raised his glass toward Vincent. "Director Vincent," he said mockingly, "if you want that discount, let's settle it like real men, through a drinking dare. Whoever finishes wins. Refuse, and everyone will think you're too weak to stand with us." Gloria's heart nearly stopped. She remembered Vincent's quiet confession, his allergy to alcohol. Even a drop could harm him. His jaw tightened, pride warring with danger. Before he could speak, Gloria stepped forward. Her voice shook at first, but then grew firm. "If fairness is the issue, then let's correct the deal openly. I'll drink in his place, but in return, the terms must be adjusted, fair and transparent, with the discount made official." The crowd gasped. The client laughed loudly. You? A girl? Fine. Let's see what you're made of. Gloria lifted the glass, steady though her palms sweated. She sipped slowly, carefully, nursing the same drink, buying time. While the man boasted, she calmly pointed out the hidden clauses in the contract and pressed for changes. By the time her glass was empty, the room was silent. The contract was signed with fair terms. Vincent said nothing, but the look in his eyes was enough. Admiration, respect, something deeper. Later that night, Gloria stepped outside for air. She was exhausted, her head light from the drink, but her spirit was steady. A sleek black car stopped beside her. The window rolled down. "Let me drop you home," Vincent said. His tone was calm, almost gentle. Inside the car, the silence was thick. At last, he spoke softly. "Thank you. You saved me tonight." Gloria looked away, her voice barely above a whisper. "I only did what was right." When the car stopped at her street, she got out quickly. "Good night, sir." As the car drove off, Gloria pressed her hand against her chest. Her heart beat wildly, as if trying to answer the question she didn't want to ask. Why do I feel this way? Why couldn't I watch him suffer? Am I falling for him? She shook her head hard, hurrying into the night. But no matter how much she tried, the thought refused to leave her. The next morning, whispers began to run through the office. Cynthia, who had seen Gloria leave the cocktail party in Vincent's car, leaned close to another trainee and smirked. "Did you see who dropped her off last night? The CEO himself. They're too close, don't you think?" The words spread quickly like smoke. By noon, the whole floor was buzzing with gossip. Gloria kept her head down, refusing to explain herself, but Helen's eyes were sharp and full of anger. She already disliked Gloria, and now this rumor only gave her more reason to scheme. That afternoon, Helen called Gloria into her office. She wore her usual confident smile, the kind that never reached her eyes. "Make sure you cut the power before you leave, understood?" Gloria hesitated. She had already learned the hard way that verbal instructions could be twisted. "Ma, could you please send that in a message, just so I don't forget?" Helen raised an eyebrow, but quickly typed a short instruction on her phone and sent it. Gloria felt a little safer with the proof tucked away. The next morning, chaos broke out. The company had lost important data overnight, millions gone because the power was cut. All eyes turned toward Gloria. Helen stood in the center of the office, her voice ringing loud. "You cut the power without permission. Do you realize what you've done? This company has lost so much because of your carelessness, you good-for-nothing intern. You're fired." Gloria's face went pale. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to stand tall. "That's not true. You told me to do it. I even asked you to confirm in writing." Helen's eyes flickered with surprise, then narrowed. She shook her head slowly. "You dare to lie? Produce evidence then. Otherwise I will have you removed from this building immediately." The whole office fell silent, waiting. Gloria's hands trembled as she held up her phone. The entire office was silent, waiting for her to prove herself. Her heart raced. This is my only chance. But when she scrolled to show the message Helen had sent, her breath caught in her throat. The message was gone. Her mind flashed back to earlier that morning. Cynthia had met her warmly in the staff room, acting unusually kind. Gloria had dropped her phone while searching her bag, and Cynthia had quickly picked it up, smiling sweetly as she handed it back. Now, realization struck her like lightning. That was when the message had been deleted. Helen and Cynthia had planned this together. Gloria's chest tightened. She had no way to defend herself. The murmurs in the office grew louder. Helen folded her arms, smirking. "See? No proof. She's lying." Tears pricked Gloria's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Just when she thought all hope was lost, Henry stepped forward. "Enough," Henry said firmly. "Let's check the CCTV footage." Helen's face twitched. The security team pulled up the recordings, and this time, with audio. The office filled with Helen's voice, clear as day. "Make sure you cut the power before you leave." Gasps filled the room. Vincent, who had been silent all along, stepped forward. His voice was cold, controlled, yet full of authority. Helen, you have not only endangered this company, but you also tried to frame a junior staff member. Effective immediately, you are demoted. Your salary will be cut in half for the next 6 months. Any more misconduct, and you're out. Helen's face burned with shame. Cynthia looked down quickly, pretending innocence. Vincent turned to Gloria, his voice calmer. Learn something from this. Always keep written confirmations. In this world, paper trails protect you. Gloria nodded weakly, her heart heavy with relief. She felt seen, defended. As the staff dispersed, Vincent stood a few steps away, his gaze lingering on her. Guilt tugged at him. He had started this unspoken bond between them, and yet he knew she wanted distance. He respected it. Still, no matter how hard he tried, he could not stop being drawn to her. After Vincent's warning and Helen's demotion, Gloria could finally breathe a little. The stares and whispers in the office were still there, but the open bullying eased. For the first time in weeks, she walked into work without dread pressing on her chest. But while her battles grew quieter, storms were rising around Vincent. At a high-level strategy meeting, the heavy wooden doors swung open. Uncle Ben and his son Leo strode in with smug expressions. They weren't supposed to be there, but they had chosen this moment deliberately. "Vincent," Uncle Ben said with a mocking smile, "your decisions are costing this family. The shareholders aren't happy. Maybe it's time the company was handled by real Adam's power." Leo crossed his arms, adding fuel. "The press already knows. I've told them how you can't run this place without the family. People will see the truth soon enough." Murmurs spread across the room, and Vincent's jaw tightened. He knew this wasn't about strategy, it was about humiliation. He kept his composure, but inside, the weight pressed harder than ever. That evening, far away from boardrooms and power struggles, Gloria prepared a simple meal in her small kitchen. She had invited Grandma Ruth over for a homemade meal. When Grandma Ruth arrived, Gloria greeted her with genuine warmth and led her into the house. "Mama, this is Madame Ruth," Gloria said shyly. "She's been a kind benefactor to me." Mama Grace's eyes filled with gratitude. She struggled to stand and then sank to her knees before Ruth. "Thank you, Ma. God bless you for looking after my child." Grandma Ruth quickly lifted her, her voice gentle but firm. "No need for this, my dear. You've raised a kind-hearted daughter. That is thanks enough." They shared a meal, simple but filled with laughter and comfort. For a moment, Gloria felt like she had family beyond her mother. When Grandma Ruth was ready to leave, Gloria walked her to the door. But Ruth paused, noticing the worry clouding Gloria's face. "Child," she said softly, "what troubles you?" Gloria hesitated, then whispered, "It's Vincent. He's under so much pressure. His uncle, his cousin make things harder for him. I don't know why, but it pains me to see him like this." Grandma Ruth's eyes softened. She reached for Gloria's hand. "You truly care for him," she said with a knowing smile. Then her voice grew calm and wise. "Storms make strong sailors, Gloria. Don't fear the winds. They only shape a man who is meant to stand tall." Gloria lowered her eyes, her heart racing. For the first time, she wondered if her concern for Vincent ran deeper than she wanted to admit. That night, after the humble dinner with Grandma Ruth, Madame Ruth's words, "Storms make strong sailors," lingered in her heart. But before dawn, the storm arrived. The next day at the office, Gloria was filing documents late when she overheard a voice in the corridor. She froze. It was Leo. His tone was low but arrogant, the kind of voice that carried pride even in whispers. "Don't worry," Leo said into his phone. "The old woman won't be around for long. I fixed her supplements. Soon she'll be out of the way, and Vincent will finally stumble." Gloria's blood ran cold. Her hands shook as she pressed against the wall, trying not to make a sound. He tampered with Grandma Ruth's medicine. Without thinking twice, she rushed to find Vincent. Vincent was in his office, going through reports, when Gloria burst in. Her face was pale, her breath uneven. "What's wrong?" he asked, standing immediately. "I heard Leo. He said he tampered with Grandma Ruth's supplements, Gloria stammered. Vincent, I think she's in danger. Vincent's expression hardened, his calm mask breaking into urgency. Without wasting a second, he grabbed his car keys. Let's go. They arrived at the Adams mansion just in time. As they rushed through the grand hall, a scream echoed from upstairs. Servants were gathered, panicking. Madam Ruth collapsed! One cried. Vincent's heart dropped. He and Gloria pushed through and found her on the floor, her skin clammy, her breath shallow. Call the driver! Get the car ready! Vincent barked, lifting his grandmother in his arms as though she weighed nothing. They sped to the hospital. Doctors rushed her into emergency care, machines beeping, staff running around. For a moment, it felt as though time had frozen. Gloria stood at Vincent's side, her hands clasped tightly in prayer. After what felt like forever, the doctor stepped out. She's stable for now, he said, but her collapse wasn't natural. The supplements she's been taking were tampered with. Vincent's fists clenched. He already knew who was behind it. His eyes burned with fury, but when he turned, he saw Gloria, her face full of worry, her eyes wet but strong. Madam Ruth, half-conscious, whispered when they entered her room, her voice faint but steady. Someone close tried to kill me. Be careful. The storm is here. Vincent held her hand tightly, his other hand brushing his forehead. For the first time in years, his walls felt thin. And standing beside him was Gloria, who had been brave enough to tell him the truth. Once Vincent was sure Grandma Ruth was safe in the hospital, anger surged through him like fire. He couldn't let it go. He called a private meeting at the Adams mansion, summoning Uncle Ben and Leo. Gloria stayed close, but quietly. She knew Grandma's heart couldn't take the truth yet. So when Ruth asked her about Leo, Gloria only smiled, but suspicion already lived in her wise eyes. That evening, Grandma Ruth staged a test. She called Leo and Uncle Ben to her study, pretending to be weak, pretending she was ready to sign over more assets. A document was placed before her. A hidden recorder captured every word. Leo, she said slowly, I'm considering transferring my holdings. Maybe it's time. Leo's face lit up with greedy hope. Under pressure, his mask slipped. You should have done this long ago. I deserve it after all the years I've been ignored. You always favored Vincent. Yes, we're both your grandchildren, but you love him more. Ruth's hand trembled, not from weakness, but from heartbreak. Vincent only has me, child, she whispered. You had your parents. That doesn't mean I ever loved you less, but love is not the same as trust. Leo clenched his fists, realizing too late that he had confessed. With steady resolve, Ruth executed the real documents, moving her major assets fully to Vincent. The recorder had everything. Uncle Ben said nothing, but the shame on his face was clear. When Vincent heard the recording, his face was stone. No emotion, no satisfaction, just cold silence. He signed the papers and left the room, his shoulders stiff with anger. Gloria followed him to the corridor. Her voice was soft but firm. Vincent, don't carry this bitterness forever. I know they wronged you. I know you feel betrayed. But if you hold on to this anger, it will eat you alive. Heal, not for them, but for yourself. Vincent turned, his eyes dark with pain, but for a brief moment her words broke through. He didn't answer, only nodded once, the smallest of nods before walking away. Gloria stood there, realizing just how entangled she had become in the Adams family storm and how much she cared more than she ever planned to. The days that followed were quieter for Gloria, but Helen's eyes burned with silent rage. Each time she saw Vincent's gaze linger, however briefly, on Gloria, her jealousy deepened. She couldn't stand the thought that the poor trainee was winning respect in places she had fought for years to enter. When word spread that Gloria was leading a charity drive for elders and school children, Helen smiled coldly. To everyone else, it looked like kindness. To Helen, it was the perfect chance to strike. The Adams group organized a gala to present the donations. Guests filled the hall in glittering gowns and sharp suits, music flowing softly in the background. Gloria stood by the side of the stage, nervous but hopeful. She had poured her whole heart into the project, carefully recording every item, every purchase. Then Helen struck. She marched on stage, holding a folder, her voice loud and sharp. "This so-called charity is a cover-up. Gloria has been embezzling funds. If she's innocent, let her show receipts." The hall buzzed with whispers. Gloria's hands shook, but she held up her phone. "Here are the e-receipts," she said, projecting them onto the screen. Helen scoffed. "Fake. Anyone can create documents on a computer." The whispers grew louder. Panic threatened to choke Gloria. But Vincent was ready. Unknown to her, he had anticipated such a move. He rose from his seat and signaled to the doors. Moments later, elderly beneficiaries and schoolchildren entered the hall, carrying the very supplies Gloria had distributed. Behind them came directors from welfare centers, orphanages, and relief stations. One by one, they stepped forward. "This food fed our widows. These coats kept our children warm. These books came exactly as promised. Every item was accounted for. Every word confirmed Gloria's honesty." Then the doors opened again, and this time police officers walked in. Vincent's calm voice cut through the stunned silence. "There has been forgery, conspiracy, and false claims made tonight. The evidence points to Helen and Leo." Helen's face drained of color. Leo tried to slip away, but officers caught him. Protests filled the air. "It was a misunderstanding. We were tricked." But the handcuffs closed. The gala hall turned back to Gloria. Guests who had whispered against her now offered apologies. One director spoke for many. "We are sorry. We judged too quickly." Gloria's voice trembled as she replied, "I only did my part. This was not just me. It was the Addams Group team and Director Vincent who quietly supported me all along." The applause that followed was genuine. Vincent remained in his seat, his expression unreadable, but inside he felt something shift. Watching her stand firm under fire, watching her defend herself with dignity, he realized Gloria wasn't just another trainee. She might be the only one who truly saw him, beyond the name, beyond the wealth, beyond the storms. After Helen and Leo's arrest, the office felt different. The whispers died down, and even Cynthia seemed changed. One afternoon she approached Gloria quietly. Her usual sly smile was gone. "Gloria," she said, voice low, I'm sorry. I was part of things I shouldn't have been. I let jealousy blind me." Gloria studied her face for a moment, then nodded. "I forgive you, Cynthia. Let's just do better from here." Cynthia's eyes softened with relief. It was the first time Gloria had seen sincerity in her. That night, Vincent asked Gloria to stay back after a board review. They stood alone in his office, the city lights spilling through the tall windows. His shoulders were tense, his face tired. "I don't often say this," he admitted, voice low, "but sometimes I feel like I can't breathe in this family. The weight never leaves." Gloria looked at him, and for once, she didn't see the powerful billionaire everyone feared. She saw a lonely man carrying too much. Her chest tightened. She stepped closer, whispering, "You're stronger than you think." Their eyes met, and the air between them grew heavy. Before she could stop herself, their lips touched. It was soft, uncertain, but real. The moment broke Gloria's resolve. She pulled back, heart racing, then stormed out of the office. That night she lay awake, shame and longing fighting in her chest. By morning she had made her decision. She walked into HR with trembling hands and submitted her resignation. When Vincent heard, he confronted her immediately. "Why? After everything?" Gloria's eyes filled with tears. "Because I've done the one thing I shouldn't. I've fallen for you. And I'm not qualified, not by degree, not by background, not by anything. Staying close to you will only ruin me." Vincent stared at her, stunned. Then slowly, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small, crumpled sheet of paper. Her breath caught. It was the handwritten note from that night. "I kept it," he said softly. "Your rules. I followed every one of them. It took everything in me to stay away. I hate that night, Gloria. I hate what brought us together. But I never disrespected you, and I don't want that to be our story." Her lips trembled. "Vincent." He stepped closer, his voice steady but full of longing. "Give me a chance to love you rightly. No secrets, no shame, just us." Gloria's heart pounded so loudly, it felt like the whole room could hear it. For the first time, she realized this storm might not be the end, but the beginning. After Vincent's confession and the sight of that crumpled note, Gloria's heart had been in turmoil. She couldn't deny her feelings anymore, but fear clung to her like a shadow. She had run out of him without a word, but she knew she couldn't escape it forever. At night, she tossed and turned. In class, she couldn't concentrate. Even at the office, where she tried to bury herself in reports, her mind betrayed her. Could she truly walk into Vincent's world? Would she always be seen as unworthy? One evening, she visited Grandma Ruth at the mansion after her discharge from the hospital. The older woman's strength was returning, and her smile lit up the room. Gloria tried to hide her restlessness, but Ruth's eyes were too wise. She reached for Gloria's hand. "Child," she said gently, "I have watched you stand by my grandson when others plotted against him. You did not run. You did not seek gain. I want no other granddaughter-in-law but you." Gloria's eyes widened, tears rushing to her lashes. "Grandma, but we didn't start right. What if he doesn't see me as worth it?" Grandma Ruth shook her head slowly. "Listen to me, Gloria. Love is not about where you start, but how you grow. Vincent needs someone who truly sees him, not his money. And that person is you." Ruth's words filled her with hope, but also fear. At home, Mama Grace noticed her daughter's distracted face. Over dinner, she asked softly, "Gloria, what's weighing on you? Is it the young man I've seen in your eyes lately?" Gloria lowered her head, fingers twisting her spoon. "Mama, Vincent and I'm afraid. What if he never sees me as worth it?" She didn't say exactly what had happened between them, but her mother's eyes softened as though she already understood. Mama Grace reached across the table, squeezing her daughter's hand. "My child, two hearts that long for each other will always find a way to be together. I have seen the way he looks at you. That is not pity. That is value. Don't let fear bury what God may be building." Gloria's tears spilled freely then. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future where Vincent truly chose her, not out of guilt, not out of duty, but out of love. The weight on Gloria's heart did not disappear overnight, but the voices of both her mother and Grandma Ruth stayed with her like a quiet melody. Two hearts that long for each other will always find a way to be together. And Ruth's words, "I want no other granddaughter-in-law but you." Those words gave her courage, even if she was still afraid. A week later, Grandma Ruth hosted a private family dinner. There were no journalists, no board members, no outsiders, just family. Gloria and Mama Grace were invited, and the warmth of the invitation itself calmed some of Gloria's fears. The dining room glowed softly under golden lights. The table was filled with rich meals, but the true sweetness came from the laughter and peace in the room. For the first time in years, the Addams family felt like a family. Uncle Ben, who had once fought so hard against Vincent, rose slowly from his chair. His voice carried humility Gloria had never heard from him. "Vincent, I was wrong. Ambition blinded me. I let pride tear this family apart. I'm sorry for everything. From today, I'll do my part to support you, not fight you." The silence was heavy for a moment. Then Grandma Ruth's eyes softened with relief. Even Vincent gave a quiet nod, his heart finally beginning to release old anger. Days later, Gloria sat for her final exams. She studied hard, poured her energy into every answer, and when it was done, she walked out of the hall with a deep breath of freedom. Graduation came soon after. The hall buzzed with excitement, students in gowns tossing caps into the air. Gloria clutched her certificate, tears in her eyes. She had made it, not just for herself, but for her mother. Then the hall fell silent. Vincent walked in. No bodyguards, no boardroom suit, just a simple, elegant man who carried quiet power. He moved straight through the rows of students until he stood before her. Gasps rippled through the hall. Whispers spread like fire. "Is that Vincent Addams?" Then to everyone's shock, he knelt on one knee. He opened a small box, the diamond ring sparkling under the lights. His voice was steady, but full of feeling. No contracts, no bargains. If you say yes, Gloria, it's forever. Gloria's heart pounded so hard it almost broke her ribs. Tears blurred her vision. Yes, Vincent, yes. The hall erupted in cheers. Some girls covered their mouths, whispering, "She's the luckiest girl alive." Others clapped wildly, their faces glowing. At the back, Henry smiled to himself. His little matchmaking trick at the pharmacy had blossomed into something even he hadn't imagined. Mama Grace lifted her hands with trembling joy. May God bless this union. May your love bring healing where there was once pain. Weeks later, the scene was far from ballrooms and champagne. Vincent and Gloria walked hand in hand at a quiet charity visit, their simple clothes blending with the laughter of children. They bent down together, handing out books and food. Their smiles were wide, their eyes shining. This was their new beginning. A love not built on secrets or bargains, but on truth. A love that had weathered storms and come out stronger. Hand in hand, side by side, forever.